Hi there, these comments are for BR, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to Pass a TOEFL IBT. You're one of my online TOEFL students, and you completed my pronunciation pretest for vowel and consonant sounds, right? And guess what? I just listened to it right now, so part A. Here are my suggestions so far. Now, I recommend that you go through all of my pronunciation lessons at least one time, right? But here are the ones I want you to pay more attention to. Lesson number 13, the CH and the SH. You're probably 50% on this one. Cheer, sheer. Feature, fisher. Those two sounds are a little bit hard for you right now. Now, lesson number 14, especially the V at the beginning of the word. Vine, van, right? You need to make sure you're pronouncing that with more vibration. Lesson number 15, focus here on the glottal stop sounds. You'll see them in the lesson. Batman, bitten, important, brightening, hat rack, threatened. The thing is, Bianca, is when the T's in the middle of the word like that, a lot of native speakers, they don't actually pronounce that T, so they say Batman, bitten, important, that. So you can probably work on that, and at least, even if you don't pronounce the glottal stop correctly and you pronounce the T instead, the good thing is you're still intelligible, right? But if you want to sound more like a native speaker, you probably want to work on it. Lesson number 19, the main thing here is when the P and the B is at the end of the word. So the P is a voiceless consonant, which means vowel sounds which precede it should be shorter. And the B, a voiceless consonant, typically is preceded by longer vowels. So then, when you say these words, let's take a look at a few of them. You say flap, flab, cap, cab, lap, lab. So make sure that you make the vowel longer when it comes before the B, and make the vowel a little bit shorter when it comes before that P consonant sound. Also, lesson number 24 you can work on, the TH sound. Let's take a look at these. Thigh, thy. Breath, breathe. Teeth, teeth. Through, though. Worth, worthy. All right, so those are my comments. So again, lesson number 13, 14, 15, 19, and 24. So because I didn't make a lot of recommendations, it means that you have a pretty good level of intelligibility already. So that's a good thing for you. Now I'm going to listen to your answer, part B. Part B is also going to give me more information about your speaking fluency and intelligibility of American English. And it also helps me understand a little bit about your background, which is also important because obviously I want to get to know each of my students and I want to be able to help you as much as I can. And that is my goal. I will take all 22 years of my teaching and my educational experience to maximize your learning so you get the highest possible TOEFL score based on your English abilities. All right? Okay, here we go.
Part B. I went to high school in Germany and graduated. After my graduation, I went to nursing school, finished and got my diploma as a registered nurse. After that...
Okay, so we got that. Now, one thing I'm going to comment on right now, I noticed when you're doing the Part A exercises, you want to work on varying your intonation a little bit more than what you're doing. You're speaking in more of a monotone. I graduated from a university in Germany or from a high school. So you want to make sure you're trying to vary that tone more and sound a little more natural.
I worked as a graduated nurse, as a registered nurse in Germany. I worked in different nursing homes, nursing cares and hospitals, and
okay.
In this way, I achieved and collected.
Let's go back to what you just said. I'm going to check your language use.
In this way, I
I'm having a little bit of trouble with your intelligibility. I'm not sure if you're saying since then. If you're saying since then I have achieved. You want to use present perfect, but I'm not sure if that's what you're saying.
Achieved and collected some experience. The last years I worked in a big regional hospital.
I have achieved and collected. Usually a native speaker wouldn't say it that way. You might want to say, since that time I have gained a lot of experience. That's probably how a native speaker would say that.
Hospitals. In a big regional hospital. I would like to learn.
Now the other thing here is you're speaking fairly slowly, and that's telling me you have some language use limitations. It could be vocabulary or grammar limitations. You're not exactly sure how to put your ideas together, so it's slowing down your response a little bit. So that lowers your English proficiency a little bit. The faster you speak with fewer pauses and the more naturally you can do that, that's going to indicate a higher level of English proficiency.
A little more fluent, especially under pressure. And maybe one day in the future, get rid of my accent, which is not Russian, by the way.
Now, having an accent is okay. Let's clarify this. There's no problem with having an accent. You can certainly get a score of 30 out of 30 on the speaking section of the TOEFL exam with an accent. And everybody has an accent, really. So let's say that you have a non-native speaker accent, right? Even if you do that, it's not a problem as long as you are intelligible. That means you can have an accent as long as other people can understand what you're saying, it's okay, right? So don't worry too much about that. Your goal is to not necessarily remove your non-native speaker accent, but your goal is to speak clearly in a way that other people can understand what you're saying. That's the main thing, and that's why you're doing this pre-test right now.
I hope to learn a little more about grammar and especially more vocabularies.
Okay.
There are still a lot of words I do not know.
Yes.
And so I can pass the TOEFL test, because
okay.
I need to pass the TOEFL test to keep going on and
all right.
keep going on and
to reach your goals, right?
So
you need to get a certain score in the TOEFL exam so you can continue maybe your academic or your professional goals.
Get the necessary steps taken care of so I can transfer my nursing license over.
Right. So if you need English for nursing, you're going to need a very high level of English abilities, but I don't have to tell you that. I'm sure you already know that. Okay, let's take a look at your intelligibility. I'm a little confused in the sense that this is what I'm making a judgment right now. I'm evaluating your proficiency on a scale of 1 to 7. 1 would be high beginner, as you can see right here. If you score 7, that means you're near native speaker. Now, on the one hand, believe it or not, you have a pretty high degree of intelligibility. That's good. That indicates a higher level of English proficiency. However, when you're speaking naturally and you're thinking of ideas to say, you speak very slowly, you have a lot of pauses, a lot of hesitations in there, which kind of means a lower level of English ability, right? So even you admitted you want to improve your grammar and your vocabulary proficiency so that you can do better with your English, right? I'm going to put you in the 3 range here where it says the student can respond to the questions and at least in the form of short sentences. Student initiates, sustains conversations. Student uses complex sentences, has adequate vocabulary with some word usage regularities. So for the, I'm going to put you right now at about 3.8 out of 7, mainly because you're speaking a little bit slowly right now. So that's definitely something that you want to work on in order to improve. Now, your goal here is when you're finishing the pronunciation section of my course, you want to try to score 5.1 or higher on the pronunciation pretest. Now, because right now you're kind of 2 levels below that, you're probably looking at 3 or 4 months. I'm going to be honest with you. It takes a lot of time to improve your pronunciation and speaking abilities. It's not easy. And if you need to score 26 on the speaking, it really means that you got to do a lot of practice right now. I mean, it's very serious for you. That means that you're reading a lot, maybe 30 or 40 minutes every day. As you're doing the reading practice, you can even take down notes, and using your notes, you can orally summarize that information. Maybe make some 60-second oral summaries. That would be very good for your language use. Bianca? In addition, you can also listen. You can listen or watch TV documentaries, history programs, science programs, maybe news programs. Again, as you're watching these programs, you can take notes and then practice speaking about this information. So you're doing some reading, some listening, and you're doing some speaking practice. That's going to be very, very helpful for your English proficiency. And of course, go through the lessons in my online TOEFL course. I'm telling you, I've used this course. I developed it over about 7 years. It will give you a lot of practice in a lot of different areas. And I promise you, as you practice your vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, listening, reading, writing, and speaking areas, you will find that your overall English abilities will begin to improve. And guess what? Your TOEFL score will begin to improve also. But remember, you must concentrate every day. You need to do practice every day. My recommendation is at least 2, maybe 3 hours of TOEFL practice in my website every day. And of course, find opportunities to use English whenever you can. All right, so thank you for completing this pretest.